Now, um, so the role of central service in ancillary department support. When we say ancillary, we're talking about other departments that we support, other departments or clinics that we support. Um, the operation room, the OR is our number one customer. Sometimes we just make it around 90%, well, depending on the hospital. The OR is our major customer. But besides that, we have other departments, ENT department, dental, etc. So yeah, we want to see how we support those other departments as well, how we support those departments as well, the role. And it's very interesting for us to learn about this chapter. What we're going to learn in this chapter, introduction, central service department's role. The largest customer is the operating room. Yes, the operating room, that is our main customer. There is no fixed percentage because hospitals vary. So, but normally we just say about 90%, even more or less, depending on the hospital. But putting the operation room aside, we also have other areas. I just mentioned a few of them, like GYN, department where you process the speculums, vaginal speculums, etc. For them, and then the dental clinic. Not every hospital has all this, so just bear in mind. Um, Types of support provided, well, it will be instruments, disposable supplies, and equipment. Um, we also handle equipment like the crash cart, floaton, IV, pump, those kind of things. So those are the equipment. But the instrument is our fundamental responsibility, the instruments or the instrumentation, the trace. That's our fundamental responsibility. Then also challenges in providing service. Every institution in its attempt to provide services uh, sometimes incur or meet some kind of roadblocks. So we want to see some of the challenges um, we encounter in central service, ensuring proper items are available when needed. Sometimes we are not able to respond to the needs. They want something, we can't locate it, we can't find it, or they have it, and then, well, maybe there is no chemical indicator, or if it's a wrap tray, maybe there is a hole in the wrap. I mean, anything. These are all the challenges. And this challenges almost on daily basis. If it's a very huge hospital, then you should be ready to hear about something every day. But if it's a small one, sometimes 3 days, nothing is heard. That's the good news. Yeah, but then they also vary in magnitude. These challenges vary in magnitude. Uh, if it is something that we can easily find a replacement, let's say pill pouch, let's say they need number 4 knife handle, and 10 of them are spell pouch, and we send one to them, and it's not a big deal. Yeah, when that happens, that's not a big deal because we can easily they just call. But if it is one of a country, something, so the very magnitude, I mean, the problems vary magnitude. Meeting diverse departmental needs, yes. So many departments, cardiology department, GYN, dental, etc. And it is just not easy to meet the needs to be tracking. Some of them have specific number or level of inventory, and they always track that to make sure when something is missing. Oh, we brought you, 10 dental picks. Why did you return only 9? These are some of the things that you hear. So it's not easy meeting all these diverse, needs. Um, Now, central service department's scope of service. Our scope is very wide. And again, it depends on the facility and the hospital. Varied service levels by facility. Yes, when we are in a very small hospital, I visited a very small hospital on Friday. Uh, no, that was Thursday. Manhattan Surgery, Surgery Center on 54th straight between 11th and 12th Avenue. A very small hospital. I mean, and the central service department is very, very small. So they don't do much. But when you come to very huge places like the main Mount Sinai or NYU, Presbyterian, HSS, then we are talking about HSS. Sometimes they do only orthopedic, and sometimes about 110, 120, 100, cases. Then we are talking about a very huge load. So all these things, vary. Now, some facilities limit central service to the OR. Yes, but in recent times, see the word central, we try to centralize, but still there are some facilities that they use that departments. For example, radiology. If they have a machine called a trophone, some process their own, probes, and still those things are happening. So it's not every facility that everything is centralized. The goal is to centralize, which is the reason we have the word central service, but some of them also kind of decentralized, where the central service focuses on the OR. Other facilities extend central service to multiple departments, as I've just explained. In recent times, this is the trend. Yes, so you are going to, receive things from all these user departments, and they are very careful because they have their own budget. So some of them buy their own instrumentation. They buy it and they have inventory. So if, for example, if GYN department has, let's say, 10 transvaginal probes and maybe 15 vaginal speculums, and that is coming from their own budget. So they want to make sure that they receive them all the time. So it's not all that is it tracking distance. Sometimes you want to dedicate a staff, to that. But if it's a very small workload, then you cannot dedicate a staff because, I mean, those things can be done within an hour. So these are some of the challenges. Now, reprocessing and sterilization. Central service provides reprocessing and sterilization for instruments, which is the fundamental duty that we have. And then we also make sure that sterile instruments and supplies are sent. Normally the supplies, let me talk about the supplies. Normally, the supplies, they have some people in the OR that work on that normally, but that also varies from institution to institution. Now, if central sterile is to pick cases, then it's not only trays. The supplies, everything listed on the pick list. So supplies are also, but during the surgery, if they need some of these things, normally when it is the supplies, with my experience, they don't call central sterile. I mean, they just send, one of their PCAs and etc. But have in mind that there is no standard. Things vary from hospital to hospital, so you could be responsible for, handling supplies. Now, central service, sterile instruments and equipment, equipment to healthcare units, ensuring safety and efficiency. We want to make sure that we deliver things to them in a way that their integrity is maintained, that is safety and efficiency. Efficiency, how? They receive them on time, the way it should be, in the right quantity. And also, remember that, for example, they want Alice, 6 inches. And in the tray, you are putting Alice, 8 inches. Well, you have the Alice, all right, the right quantity of 6, or let's say 4, but then the length is incorrect. So these are all the things that you need to pay attention when you are building the tray. And all those things, will end up, the surgeons know the reason they are demanding, 6 inches Alice, not 8 inches or 10 inches. Because if it is minimally invasive, then maybe the 6 work. But if it's a deep, surgery kind of thing, invasive, then maybe they want the 8 or the 10. They know. So when they ask of the 6, it's the 6 that you have to put in there. You don't substitute. And all those things will end up, ensuring safety and efficiency. Developing system to meet patient and provider needs. Again, if a doctor or a surgeon doesn't want something, as I said earlier, you just have to make sure that whatever the exact thing that they need is provided. I remember my time at Queen's, there is a particular doctor, GYN. Uh, he wanted some specific sizes of dilators, of dilators. Now, we didn't have, I mean, one size, you know, uh, we didn't have the correct size, so we substituted thinking that we were helping the doctor, but it came out to be a very big thing. Doctors, the doctor was so furious and told us that, you see, we are no, medical doctors. We are not surgeons, so we will never understand. But the sizes of those things depend on how the scanning they did, how they scan the patient. They know that size work, and that if another size, something that could be done in about 5 minutes, could be done in about 20 minutes. He multiplied it by 4. I remember very well. Could be done, and it could put the patient at risk. Now, I'm sharing this information for us to know that when the OR requires a specific thing, they know, they are the surgeons. We are only trained to clean and sterilize, but they were trained in the medical school. They know why they want that length, size, etc. So let's focus on that. Focus on safety, timeliness, and cost effectiveness. With the cost effectiveness, our role may be limited unless it comes to the supplies. We don't have to mishandle supplies. We don't have to mishandle supplies. Work as if it's your own business. But of course, how many people work that way? Focus on safety. So this safety and timeliness, that is the key. That's the key. For timeliness, yes. When they want something, let's focus on it as a turnover or start orders or turnover. Turnover means that they use the tray, let's say in the first case. Maybe there is another case in between, and then the third case, they're going to need that. Even though there is a case in between, you don't know. Maybe that case is just about 2.5 hours. And our turning over time with the terminal sterilization, everything is almost about 3 hours. That is if you don't cut corners, and you don't have to cut corners as well. Professional standards. So make sure that you focus and get things done. Then the safety. If something has to pass through the sink, from the sink, the IFU, information for you says it has to go through the ultrasonic. You don't have to skip the ultrasonic straight to the washer. I mean, take me very serious. You are going to see some of these things where people cut corners. It's not acceptable. Let's go by the IFU. When Joint Commission comes and they interview you, you have to say it exactly the way the IFU is saying. The OR will understand that, yeah, that is our protocol. Sometimes when they're screaming, there was a time I had to provide a full lecture, putting time allocation, the decontamination. This tray is big. It could take about 25 minutes. The sonic takes about 10 minutes. The washer, about 15 or 20. I tell them, depending on the side. Then when the cycle ends from the washer, they have to cool because they're very hot. Temperature gets to about 188 or 190, sometimes 200. Getting machines sometimes get to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Steris gets to about 190, and those are high temperatures. So when the cycle ends, they have to cool down. I factored all that. Then this is a victory. The person will spend about 30 to 35 minutes checking cleanness, alignment, functionality before it goes on. So I calculated all that, and I said, that's about 3 hours. So, but then if you give them the 3 hours, you must make sure that the timeliness is there. You are able to go within that. And then the safety. Again, you can ask questions anytime. Just jump in anytime and ask questions, guys. Now, management of patient care equipment. Now, when we say patient care equipment, we are talking about those things that I mentioned earlier, like crash carts can be considered as patient care equipment, floaton, IV pump, and all those kind of things, that normally stay by the patient bedside. Based on the Spalding classification, normally these things, touch the intact skin. Those are the things that normally we categorize or group under patient care equipment. So the IV pump, IV pump and Floton and those kind of things, yeah, they only touch. We don't sterilize them. Just kind of low level disinfection low level to intermediate. Now, based on the spalling. Now, so responsibilities of Central Service Department are assembly of patient care equipment. If I use, well, I mean, you guys are not in the field yet, so you don't know what the crash cart is unless you are working in a hospital. I mean, if you have to assemble that, of course, we have to assemble delivery and tracking of equipment, and also that retrieve and decontamination, storage of equipment. Now, so when we get those things, what we have to do is that we decontaminate. When we get them in CS, Central Service, we have to decontaminate them. And then if we have to assemble them or put them together based on the IFU, whatever, we do that. And then if it is something that we have to keep in our storage, we keep it. Some CS departments have IV plums and Floton in the CS. Some also have it in the user department. So once they are clean, we dispatch them, send them to the clinics or to the user departments. Yes. So the storage could be in sterile processing or in the user department, but the decontamination happens in central and then tracking. Some have barcodes, especially the crash card. Some have barcode. Well, not some. I mean, good hospitals have barcodes on them, so that we can track them. Crash card number 1, crash card number 2, etc. Yes. So that is how these things are. Importance of effective handling. Significant impact on patient. Yeah, the way you handle them, try to avoid recontamination is very, very key. If you guys remember the principle of asepsis, the 5 principles of asepsis, know what is dirty, know what is clean. Number 3, know what is sterile. Number 4, keep them separate. That's the number 4. And number 5, remedy the situation. Now, the number 4 means that you keep them separate, meaning that if something is dirty, something is clean, another one is sterile, the 3 must be separated, completely separated. That's the 4th principle of asepsis. So, if you make a mistake and combine a clean and sterile instrument, it means that based on the principle of asepsis, I can conclude that you are violating, you are not trying to meet this condition. It means that you can pose a potential risk, because when an instrument is clean, the spore is not dead. When an instrument is dirty, soiled, well, that's even worse. That's even worse. So you cannot keep. So take this in mind. Everything we do is our patient safety. Have that in mind. The critical part of Central Service, department's job. Yes, patient safety is the most critical, perhaps. And everything we do is to make sure that we do not expose, patients. That's why we say that in Central Sterile, we handle patients indirectly. Indirectly, our work is very key, because we don't actually treat them or touch them anywhere, but then the instruments or the trays, everything, will end up being used on the patient. The availability and safety of equipment. Availability and safety of equipment. Availability of patient care equipment must be readily available when needed. Oh, this is very, very critical. Must be readily available when needed. Now, let's assume that you go to McDonald's or Wendy's, and they have given you a place. You are waiting for your food to be called, and maybe somebody behind you has been served. Another person has been served behind you. You will begin to wonder why. What we don't know is that what you have ordered perhaps needs to be fried. But another one, maybe what the person has ordered is something that is there already. Regardless, you are going to be very angry. I'm just giving an example. Or you have worked and you're expecting your money in your account, and they begin to give you excuses. You'll be very much angry. So when the doctors and the surgeons and the user departments bring the instrument, they are expecting that they should have them back within a reasonable time. But if it's not ready, trust me, they begin to send emails, sometimes straight to the president, to the CEO, And then the president, the CEO will also descend and forward the email back to the directors and the managers of Central Sterile. Let me be very honest, guys. It is not easy holding a management position in Central Sterile. But of course, we do it, and you just have to make sure that you have good staff and management below you, like the supervisors who know what they are doing. So make sure that everything is there when they did it. Should be safe and functional. This is what um let me share something, with you. Well, we are all adults here. We are all adults here. I want to talk about this. Should be safe, functional. Let me pause the share, so that I share this with you. Again, at Queen's Hospital, a technician processed a tray, a vascular tray, and that vascular tray has weight learner. For now, you don't know what the weight learner is. Yeah, so just hear it as a story, a weight learner. It is an instrument that can self-retain itself, And this doctor was working on somebody's arm. So the doctor wanted to pull some veins apart. So apparently, the self-retaining weight learner could not retain itself. It was so loose. So a call was made. And then, to the director and then the assistant. So we went there. The two of us went to the room. But the doctor was so funny, and that's what I want to share with you. So he held the weight learner and said, look, it cannot retain. Even if you inject this weight learner with Viagra, it can never retain itself. And everybody in the OR was laughing. Now, we were so lucky that that doctor put it into a joke. When he said that, he himself laughed. But trust me, even though he laughed, he didn't like it, because the functionality aspect during assembly wasn't done. You see, when we are in the decontamination room, your goal is not functionality. Your goal is cleanliness. You want to make sure that things are clean. But the assembly, the person sitting down, whether sitting or standing, there are three things that you have to do. Like check cleanliness, well-found. I believe you guys made the acronym in this book, confirm, functionality, etc. Accuracy. Now, so the person apparently didn't check. So we look for the name of the person. The tray has a person's name on it. And then we came and we descended on that technician. You should have checked. Now we were fighting hard to find another weight learner as a pill pouch. But most often, weight learners are not pill pouch. They are not instruments that traditionally are pill pouch. They are in trays. So we have to give another tray. And vascular trays traditionally are very, difficult. Coolies, statistic, bulldogs, and these are things that not everyone knows how to work on them. So we also make sure that the trays are taken when they need them, because when the trays are put down, it can be there for 2 days, unless we go into strike that I want you to do this tray for me. We have to give the tray out. So I'm sharing these kind of things with you. And that is why it's so good that we, the teachers here, instructors, are all in the field, experience. So sometimes we come out with, real life stories from the field to share with you. So please make sure that you check the functionality, very key, so that a doctor doesn't tell you that even when you apply a Viagra to the instrument, it can never, stand and regain, retain itself. Yeah, that's a funny story anyway. Now, free from soil and contaminants. Free from soil and contaminants. Yes, the cleanliness comes here again. You don't have to assume that the person in the decontamination room has done the work very well. Yes, that person there is handling tons of instruments at a time. A tray can have about 80 instruments. I have seen trays before that have about 188. I remember. Basic vascular tray, I remember when I was a tech. 188, I'll never forget that. And do you think, let's be very real, the person in deacon will be handling this instrument one after the other in the deacon? The truth is no. The truth, every seasoned technician knows that it is not possible. Otherwise, the person will end up spending about 1 hour on one tray in the decontamination room. 8 hours making about 8 trays. So we all know that that's not done. So the person may, skip something. That's the human error. And for to give the machine, that's what the machines will give you. If it's not clean, you put them in the sonic. The sonic is not going to clean them well. The washers are not going to clean them well. The impingement force will not read them. So the person in assembly, especially, that is the last place to catch it, if it's clean or not. Try to do that. The rule of central service technicians: ensure equipment meets safety and functionality requirements. Remember, it must function very well. Remember that. Manage equipment to minimize cost. I mean, you don't have to say that, oh, after all, it's not my father's property. I mean, you don't have to be callous. You don't have to be callous. Be diligent. Don't let the word callous describe you, but let diligence describe you. Integrity describe you. Work as if it is your own property. Work as if the instruments are yours. Importance of equipment management program, essential for managing healthcare. You see, the goal is to bring down costs. So if instruments are getting damaged all the time, that is the problem. Now, types of patient care equipment, general device categories, infusion therapy, temperature management, wound care, suction. These are some of the things that we have. Yeah, these are the patient care. Normally, in fact, we just, disinfect them, clean and disinfect them, wipe, and then we send them back. For the suction, depending on the IFU, they could be sterilized. Some are also pre-sterilized from factory, but they are disposable, so they become supplies. In that case, they may not be classified as patient care equipment. Specialized device categories, maternal and infant care. Yes, maternal and infant care, NICU and so on, L&D, area, Gamco clamp and those kind of things, scissors, those are the things that you are likely going to see in these areas. Bariatric care, well, yes, huge instrument, long instruments. Then patient monitoring, and of course, normally we don't receive much things from patient monitoring. I mean, after the OR and they are observing them for some hours for them to see, normally, but some things could come anyway. Now, specialty surfaces and beds. The PCAs and then the EVS, normally they do those kind of things like the beds and so on. But there was a time that giraffe beds, for the babies, those that were premature, central sterile was tasked. This varies from hospital to hospital. I'm just sharing my experience with the city hospital. That came under the workload of central service, and then staff strain on that. So you see, it can vary. It can vary. So just be very open. Wherever you go, whatever falls under your job description, what they do there, after all, your goal is to be there for 8 hours a day and to work. So just work, whatever they give you, and then you leave. Device management and variability. These are all our duties. Now, examples of patient care equipment: mechanical suction devices powered by battery or electrical. Yes. Hypothermia machine, for example. Well, I'll be talking about that. Now, so mechanical suction devices powered by battery or electrical currents. There are so many things that they use. Some could be powered by battery and some could be electrical. Again, this varies from facility to facility, used in various facility locations. The wound, VA, trapping out. There are so many things when it comes to the wound care. Um, uh, in fact, depending on the hospital, again, you may see them or you may not see them. Sometimes the PCAs are tasked to clean those things or disinfect them in their swell rooms. User departments have their swell rooms, they have their clean rooms, clean utility rooms, and swell rooms. So anything that you are asked to do, just breast pumps, hot and cold therapy devices, infant incubator. I talk about that briefly. Intermittent suction device, oral suction device, sequential compression, SCD devices. So if you work in a hospital that they want the PCAs to be cleaning them, then you may not even see this. I work in two facilities that I've never seen this kind of thing, but I also work in another two facilities that I see them because Central Sterile was tasked, to do those kind of things. All that I'm saying is that you may not in your career see some of these things in your whole career in SPD if you are in a hospital that they don't bring these things down for you to handle. Responsibilities. Again, maintain the flow of the patient equipment systems. Now, if they need them and Central Sterile is to handle them, then you must make sure that they have them all the time. IV pumps, for example. I remember a time that they asked our Central Sterile department to be handling them. And I mean, these departments were calling us all the time. Yes, all the time. Sometimes it got to a time you realize that they hoard them. They were hoarding them. So there's always a shortage. Then other departments that don't have it will be calling us. We don't have it. But guess what? When mock survey was coming and then they brought in a team, they quickly, you don't know where they were coming from because they didn't want to hold anything somewhere where the surveyor would tell them that no, that room, the temperature or the air exchange, blah, 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 is not good for. They just surface from nowhere. That is how those things are. Now, if the departments have a habit of holding them, then maintaining the flow of the patient care equipment becomes a challenge. Because other departments will be putting pressure on you. We need them, but then you don't have them. You can't find them. It's a challenge. Partnering with biomedical, yes. Biomed is the department that, repairs, this kind of devices. So always have good contact with them. Find out if they pick some in the morning that they have worked on, or if there are some that they have worked on that didn't need to be, cleaned and disinfected. Just check on all of that. So, but medical department is very, very key. They perform safety on those kind. And when new things also come, they actually test them first. And if they have to put some serial number, blah, blah, blah on them, they do that and they repair them as well. Now, central service technicians' limitations should not perform equipment testing and maintenance without specific training and approval. We are not to repair equipment. We can troubleshoot. Now, when it comes to patient care equipment, we don't even try to troubleshoot because we don't use it. For example, IV pump or hypothermia machine. We don't use them. So we don't know how they use them. So how are you going to even troubleshoot them? We handle instrumentation. So be very careful. When it's not working or the target from the user department, yes, it cannot go to the biomedical department without coming to Central Sterile for us to decontaminate them. We have to clean them before sending them to, biomed. So just clean them and don't do any, troubleshooting. Your work is to clean. Must not use equipment unless properly trained. Yes. That is why when you go to for 400 hours, you'll be trained. You will have a preceptor who train you how to clean, those kind of things. Could be hypothermia machine, IV pump, filter, etc. Safety checks and maintenance. Initial safety checks. Equipment must be checked by biomedical technician upon entry. Yes, when new instruments arrive, they must be checked by the biomed. And also ensure safety before patient. Yes, it should be functioning before they use it on a patient. Periodic follow-up inspection. When we are talking about periodic, anytime you hear the word periodic follow-up, we are talking about PM, preventive maintenance, to make sure that it is in good health, the instrument is in good health that can be used on patients based on the facilities, the policies. And of course, that is the maintenance. Records must be checked, kept, so that we are able to track, to know that indeed this machine was PM on this date, and the next PM is due on this date. On this date. Preventive maintenance standards. Assign equipment location where it is should be known. The record should be kept, and of course, well, whether it is rented, leased, owned, or borrowed. Yes, we do, rent instrumentation, equipment. We do also borrow. The word borrow, when we say borrow, that we are referring to, let's say, a sister hospital. Let's say the Mount Sinai of 14th Street. You quickly need something for the main, Mount Sinai, and then you can borrow a tray. Yeah. So normally when you use the word borrow, it is like, having it and then just to send it back for a procedure. Maybe procedure is scheduled tomorrow, Monday. You realize that we don't have it, or you don't have a lot, you borrow and then you return. You can also own, which is of course the best. You can also lease. You don't lease, takes a longer time, or rent. And all these are the terms, and then PM schedule for them, preventive maintenance. Now, it should be regular based on the IFU. Then the history must be kept as well. And we must make sure that we follow the standards. You don't cut corner. If the PM is needed for every 6 months, you must make sure that every 6 months the PM is done. Within inspection process, preventive maintenance checks. Sometimes just walk out, time may not be reached. Preventive maintenance time may not be reached, but you will note that, oh no, this machine or equipment is not functioning well. Then there's the need for, biomedical engineering team to come in. But then the best thing when you hear of PM is a routine. It's a routine work. Time, like every 3 months or 6 months, whatever, yes. And in a central sterile, we want to make sure that when you're dealing with those cords, casings, knobs, switches, and those kind of things, check if they are working very well. If they are not working very well, then after you come out and disinfect them, then you contact the biomedical department to let them know that this equipment is not functioning well, so that they can have their job, to repair it. Yeah, minimize equipment-related issues. Stay alert. Stay alert. Stay alert when you're inspecting. Stay alert. Yeah, don't just trust yourself. Be very careful. You are dealing with equipment, and you must make sure that you don't harm yourself. And you also don't harm the instruments, because in the end, we are there to take care of patients. We don't want to become the patients. If we become the patients, how can we stand and work and then the instrument be used on the patients? Handling used equipment. All patient care equipment must be considered contaminated. That is the central, like the heart or the soul of what we call standard precaution. By now, all of you know what we mean by standard precaution. Whatever has been used on a patient, even once it is open, it is considered highly contagious, contaminated. So here, indirectly, they are referring to standard precaution over here. All patient care equipment must be considered contaminated. Handle all equipment as if it is contaminated. Yes, as if it is contaminated. Remember, guys, that you can see something clearly with the naked eyes. Human eyes are not microscopic. I repeat, human eyes are not microscopic. So you can see patient care equipment, let's say a crash cart or a hypothermia machine, looking so fresh and new. Oh, come on, this is clean. Trust me. There can be some stubborn bacteria and viruses. And again, if you send your minds back to chapter 4, bacteria, we said, 1,000 of them can sit on a granule of a sugar. I'm not talking about the cube sugar. I'm talking about the granule, the powdered sugar, one granule, one piece of it, 1,000 bacteria can sit on it. A virus is 1,000 times smaller than a bacteria. That is the reason I said the human eyes are not microscopic. So that is why this point here is very, very critical. This point here, handle all handle all equipment as if it is contaminated. What you cannot see does not mean that it is not there. Our eyes are not microscopic. And appearance does not determine contamination. Oh, I love this. Yes. Proper handling of soil equipment is crucial. Follow protocols and also maintain, safety and hygiene. Maintain safety and hygiene. Clean patient care equipment. Follow the manufacturer instructions. That's the information for use, or manufacturer information for use. Cleaning instructions are found in the operator's manual. When you are new, you are going to be trained on how to handle everything. And then when you become a seasoned tech, there are in-services that will update your knowledge, etc., and so on. And that will, of course, keep you abreast with all these things. But if you are in doubt, always consult the manual. Manual accompanies the equipment, yes, of course. When you buy those kind of, just like you buy a new TV, it comes with a manual. You buy a microwave, it comes with a manual. All those things. Protocols are designed to prevent infections. Yes, of course. So when you are asked to be in your full PPE, fluid-resistant gown, face shield, mask, head cover, shoe covers, etc., it is to protect you. Remember, what your eyes cannot see doesn't mean that it's not there. Contact the manufacturer if needed. If you're in doubt, as a tech, always, you can ask a colleague or you can ask your supervisor. If the supervisor is also in doubt, the supervisor then will contact the manager or director, whoever is responsible. If all these are exhausted, we just call the manufacturer. Yes, we just call the manufacturer. Yeah, as a manager or director, trust me, we cannot keep everything in our brain. We have tons of instruments and equipment. We cannot keep everything. So sometimes we can also call to be sure. It is normal. It is very, very normal. Managing inoperative equipment. Yes, when an equipment is not working. When an equipment is not working. Now, identification and tagging. When something is not working, we always tag it by putting a repair tag on it. Some of the repair tags are very small, like the lock that we use on a tray. But there are some machines that are very huge, like the hypothermia machine, very big machine. So in that case, how can you put that small lock? So we always print a signage, paper size, that out of order, and we laminate it, and we put on it. Yeah, so you can communicate anyhow. So when you hear the tag, yes, the tag can be in many forms. Routine for repair, yes, sales technicians must, route tag equipment to the biomedical. Yes, when it happens that way, then we call biomedical engineering. That there is some equipment here, then they come for it. Normally they come for it. I've never worked in a hospital that said like we send it to them. No, our job is to clean it, then they come for it. That's what I know. But this can vary. This can vary depending on the protocol in the hospital. For example, some hospitals, when cases are finished in the OR, the scrap test, blah, blah, they bring it. Some places also, they just put them in an area we call holding area, or staging area, Then CSPD staff will go and pick it. So I make sure that when I'm teaching, I let you understand that, listen, it can vary. So whatever the situation, so biomedical engineering can pick them up. Handling manufacturing, malfunctioning equipment. It is something. If equipment malfunctions or causes harm, it should not be disassembled or adjusted. Again, we remove them and then we return them to biomed. We just shortcut them as biomed. Now, they are trained to handle those and they recognize what is correct and what is not correct. They can troubleshoot and do all the repair work. All right. Storage of patient care equipment. Storage locations, yes. It can be in CS department, as I said already, or a secure location. Yes. User units for accessibility. Most often, the user departments want those things to be close to them. The user department. That is the reason I told you that we have, the user departments have soiled rooms and they have clean utility rooms. Now, they want us to stage those things in the clean utility room so that when they need it, it's just like 5 steps or 10 steps, but not to travel long distance to central sterile. Sometimes not on the same floor. In most hospitals, central sterile is on the first floor or in the basement. First floor or the basement. And if you use that department, let's say on the 5th floor, and maybe at the west side, and CSPD is, let's say, at the east side. Look at the distance. So sometimes they want those things to be just close to them. Just follow the protocol. More accessible for nursing and patient care. Yes. Reduces waiting time. Yes. If they did it on a patient is in pain and they want IV pump, sending PCA from, let's say, east side on the 5th floor to the west side basement, it's a long distance. Pain can kill. So they want those things in their locations, very close to them. Storage conditions, clean and secure. Yes, traffic must be controlled. To those who are working there, it must be clean. They should never make a mistake by putting a soil one in the clean area, away from high traffic, of course. High traffic. The area is not for patients. No, unacceptable. It is for the staff. So traffic should be controlled. Preparing equipment for use. Now, preparation for use includes assembly and addition of new disposable components. So I know that you'll be wondering, well, hypothermia, floaton, IV pump, we don't use that in central sterile. So I know you'll be wondering, why this heading? Why this slide? I know you'll be wondering, why this slide over here, preparing equipment? Yes, we prepare them so that all the pieces, whatever they need, we attach everything, we add everything as a complete set for them. That's what it means. So includes assembly and addition of new disposable components. That is if the disposable components, new ones are kept in central sterile. Most of them, the good news is that these disposable, attachments are kept in the user department. They have it. For example, in the OR or endoscopy, if they are dealing with this attachment for this, big scopes and the long scopes. But of course, depending on the instrument, they can, have those things in sterile processing. Check and or replace batteries. Oh yes, batteries, we handle them in CS, central, sterile. Yeah. Water reservoirs. Familiarity with manufacturers' recommendations for care, proper filling of water reservoirs. So depending on what they do in that hospital, again, they will show you how to handle these things. Now, battery backup systems must be recharged if it is a battery. Well, of course, orthopedic surgery. They use these drills, and these things use batteries. Now, the batteries must be charged. What they don't want is that the battery is not charged, and then it is packaged, either wrapped or pouched. Well, like these days, we prefer them to be wrapped, pouching sometimes the weight. And then in the middle of the surgery, the battery runs down. No, they don't want that. So you have to make sure that they are fully charged. The light tells you that it's from red to green, means that they are fully charged, or whatever system you are using to charge, so that adequate number of electrical outlets. Yes, we should have a lot to charge those things if you need, and also to plug them. If we keep them in storage, they should be plugged in so that they maintain their everything the way they are. Follow the IFU. Equipment should be plugged in at all times for battery recharge. Yes. So just follow the IFU to plug that in so that they are fully charged. Now, importance. Any questions so far, guys? Again, you can ask questions anytime. This chapter is easy to understand. It's not anything technical. That of yesterday and today, they are not things that are technical. They are like things that you can easily comprehend. But still, that doesn't stop you from asking questions. You can jump in anytime with questions. Now, importance of tracking. Again, we are with tracking. Tracking is very, very important, guys. Tracking is very, very important. Mobility and size of equipment Um, Now, you should be able to track where the instruments are at any time. So you see, if whenever there is a good tracking system, let's say hypothermia machine number 4, when we clean them or disinfect them and we want to send them out, which department, you can scan it to a particular, department to know that this one is going to this department, or IV pump is going to this department. So tracking is very important. Equipment is often mobile and small, can be easily. The hypothermia machine, I'm calling it a big one. So when you hear the small, then we are talking about like, well, filtering and other ones that are compared to the hypothermia are small. Yes, we should be able to track them because they can easily, get lost if there is no good tracking. Can be easily placed in incorrect locations. Yes, those that are very small can be placed in wrong locations. So good tracking, having a barcode or any tracking system like KDOT, on them to be able to find them wherever they are, that is very important. Misplacement issues, set aside on a user unit, otherwise misplaced. With my experience in this field, most of this in exception of IV, even IV pumps, not every central sterile handles them. It's only some few hospitals that won't, the PCAs handle that in their swell room, as I know. Because bringing those things, I'm not a fan of bringing those things to the decontamination room because based on the spoiling, they only touch the interskin, non-critical. But when you bring them to the decontamination room where blood is, that is critical. So I was a very strong advocate arguing that no, we don't have to bring these things to central department because instead of, following the spoiling, you see, when you understand these theories, you can argue very well and defend yourself. So when those things touch, like IV pump, the floaton that touch, like broken skin, just like the stethoscope that doctors use to check our heartbeat. And then you are bringing those things to the decontamination room where they can touch blood. It means that you are rather exposing them. So this is the way I analyzed, and I told them, and I was a very strong advocate that no, those things should not come. Even if SPD staff should clean them, they should be in their clinics, in their user, room, store room, that we clean them instead of exposing them to even potential hazards. But we know that according to the standard precaution, everything used on patient is, yes, I agree. I agree. They also use that, but I said, yes, I agree. But remember that it is not blood again, by the spoiling. So guys, see, when you understand these concepts and you are a leader, you can argue very well to the leadership and convince them to do the right thing. Yes. And I believe, and we did that to the extent that finally, it was taken away from central sterile because I said, no, we are rather exposing these things to, harm more than they are. So try to understand this concept. It's the standard, precaution, all these things, spoiling, and you enjoy this field because you can apply the theory, because the practicals depends on the theory. So when you understand the theory, your practical is excellent, perfect. And you can defend yourself anytime. Now, consequences of misplacement. Consequences of misplacement causes equipment shortages. Yes. As I told you that when people hoard them, well, this one is not a misplacement. It's deliberate. Deliberate. They want to hoard them. But because they hoard them, other clinics are not getting it. So there is a shortage. And that will result in delay in treatment, treating people and establish short-term solutions. So in that case, you see that as the directors, we take some staff along and then some nurses, we go around from room to room. We could have used that time to be doing some administrative work, but we were going from clinic to clinic where we are asking some of the staff, where do you hide things? Because we also have some few friends around who say, oh, check that room. Lo and behold, we go and then you can see about 15 IV pumps, but they don't need that. But because they want to have it always, they want to have it always, but they don't need that 15. Another clinic wants it. So these are some of the challenges, guys. So good tracking is very important. Methods of tracking. Methods of tracking. It can be manual. Uses just paper system, etc. And I mean, I did all these things, especially inventory. I did all these things, and you are going to do them. Tracks each equipment item's specific identifying number. Yeah. When you, I mean, keep records of equipment with the serial numbers, it is easy to track. And normally we do that with transvaginal probes. You know, we do that with the serial numbers, and that helps a lot, so that you can really track. Computerized programs can also help. You have automate the tracking system, as I said. Then the barcodes. I talked about the barcodes yesterday, and then the keynotes, and the tracking system. I talked about all those things yesterday at length, you know, extensively. The radio frequency, and I was using those that they are fixed on. For example, you go to Macy's, like those kind of things that they fix on the dresses when you forget to check out, and those kind, you know, this kind of things, you know, communicate to, you know, a central system, or normally at the doors, you know, they communicate, and when it is within that, you know, radius, it can pick it and to blow alarm. So those things are checked. Yesterday I was saying that I had some instruments have those kind of chips in them, but I've never seen any instrument like that. Maybe I never made any attempt to carry any instrument out. Of course, why will I do that anyway? Yeah, I heard that, but once I heard it, it means that it has this could be instruments or instrumentation or that are very much expensive, like 50,000, 80,000, and they're very small that people can carry easily. They may be having those things, because the big ones, like hypothermia, how can you carry that or crash cart outside and still or carry away? Yeah, you can't do that. So this should be things that they can use that for, should be things that are very small but very expensive. Yeah, you know, you're talking about tens of thousands. But maybe one day we'll see. The main goal is to provide information about, you know, where the equipment is. That is the goal. Now, procuring new and additional equipment. Procuring new and additional equipment. Yes, new equipment or additional. Normally, this is not for you as a technician. It is the leadership, central sterile leadership, or the user department. Or the user department is about things that, in fact, is when it comes to patient care equipment, it's not even that decision is not even for central sterile. It is the user department. But normally we are involved at some point, because we are going to disinfect them. That's if the goal is that we in central sterile, you know, decontaminate them or clean them. So at some point, but the decision of buying it, you know, the budgetary allocation, whether to approve or not, that is not for SPD, because these are patient care equipment. But when it comes to instrumentation, trays, you know, etc., that, well, sometimes also we can advocate. If, for example, a gastroscope, we don't have enough, and the doctors are always using it, there is a delay, we can suggest that, no, in this case, have, you know, make some budgetary allocation and buy more. But when it comes to patient care, all that I'm saying is that normally we don't, I mean, that even if we have to take that decision, it is the central sterile leadership, the manager, the director, you know, etc. New technologies and increased need, healthcare facilities often require additional patient care equipment due to new technology. Yes, sometimes it's not like it's not working, but it's because of the new technology. I remember we were using Trophone EMR. Is it EMR or so? Well, that's the old version, and then we changed to the Trophone, you know, to the newest one. So nice. I mean, yeah. So this can change. Yeah, and also scopes are also change constantly. Even instrument itself, like scissors, those kind of things. I remember my time in one of the facilities, the instruments that we threw away. In fact, that could load a van, a very big van. It can be full of a van. We just threw them away. And when we were doing that, I said, oh man, you know, there is a country that will need, because they're not old. Some are even new. But well, that is how it is. So purchasing can happen when, you know, there is budgetary allocation or maybe some new things coming. Methods of procurement. Equipment can be purchased, leased, or loaned. Yes, it depends. It depends. If you want to purchase it outright, that's fine. If it is something that you are going to use all the time, then purchase is good, not rented, because you are going to, I mean, like pay more. Uh, but if it is something that you don't use often, maybe once a month that case comes up, then when you loan, it's okay because maybe it's very expensive. You don't want to uh, put in about 100,000 US dollars into something that you are going to use about once a month, and maybe that procedure is just about 5,000. Yeah, the bill where they charge the patient about 5,000, or let's say about 10,000. So in a whole year, if it is about 5,000 a whole year, every 3 months, about 20,000, and you want to spend about 100,000. No, hospitals don't do that. Trust me, they will channel that money into something else. So whether to purchase, lease, rent, or loan, trust me, so many decisions will have to be taken. It depends on so many things. How frequent that case comes up, or those things. Decision-making approach. Facilitators should make decisions based on their specific needs. You see, the needs analysis. We call something needs analysis because even our normal life, guys, our normal life, we also make needs analysis. Do I really need this? Do I really need this? If you don't need it, you don't buy. Let's assume you are so much into phones, and iPhone is always coming with something new, and then almost every year they want to come out with something. Even in 2013, I remember 2013, 2014, 2015, every year they were coming out with two, in March and September. Every year, March, September. So people were, going crazy about it. So someone will buy the new one in March, and then when the latest one comes in September, trading, they go for it, blah, blah, and so on. But, well, the question is, do you need that, by the way? Now, the answer could be yes, depending on your interest. But I'm just trying to say that in personal life, we do needs analysis. Hospitals also do the same thing, need analysis, because you are there for a profit. So you don't want to throw money away. No. Equipment purchase. Method of equipment acquisition used by healthcare facilities for decades. When you purchase, the good thing is that it's going to be there for decades. I mean, for a very long time. It is your property. Identification of equipment needs. Facility personnel identify, the specific equipment need. What is this equipment going to do for us? We need it. Then the budget comes in. I talk about the budget allocation. Then it is incorporated. Then the ownership, you own it. The equipment is owned by the healthcare. Yes. So you don't have to rely on anybody that, let me loan, and then the vendor promises to bring it to you, and maybe there is a delay, or no. It is in the facility. You own it. Equipment rental. You can also rent. Yes, difference between rental and leasing. Maybe some of you have leased a car before. You can also rent a car and you can lease. You see, the difference is that, say, when you lease, for example, apartment lease, I mean, you can lease an apartment for like 2 years or 1 year or something like that. But when it comes to like hotels, for example, we can use the word like rental for it, even though we say that you book a hotel. Yeah, but if you look at the difference, I'm just trying to use a hotel and then apartment as an example, as an example to explain to you. So rental is very short. Well, let's assume I want to travel to Maryland, and let's say I don't want to put, mileage on my brand new car. I don't want to put the mileage on my brand new car. So, well, in that case, I can rent. I don't care. Yeah. When you rent also, well, normally they have those with a limit, and I can go for the one without the limit. But the goal is that my brand new car, I don't want to put mileage on it. But, well, if I want to lease, that's fine. when you see the TV, you can lease for 6 months, blah, blah, so on. So lease has a longer duration than rental. Leasing contracts can last for months or years. I explain all this. Rental contracts can be as short as a single day. Yeah. So reasons for equipment rental: immediate need due to high patient volume. Let's assume that next week we realize that, well, not next week, let's say next 2 weeks, the week of April 20th, that's Sunday. So let's say the week of April 21st, that's Monday. Let's assume that a lot of cases are booked, but we don't have enough inventory. And within that short time also, you cannot just buy. So you just have to maybe plan to rent at that time. Yeah, so immediate need. And then unique needs. Let's assume that there is a procedure. When you go to hospital, there are some trays in storage that sometimes are used like once in 2 years, once in 3 years. The tray will be there and they use it, once in 2 years, once in 3 years. So these are like cases or procedures that are not common. So in that case, you may decide that you don't even need a tray. Based on the experience of other hospitals, they don't have those cases often. So why do you spend so much? I was using about 100,000 as an example. When you can just, rent, and maybe renting it could just be about 2,000, maybe about $2,000. Use it, and maybe you charge the patient about 5,000. So after all, you gain in the end. But spending about $100,000 to buy that, and it's going to be used, let's say once in a year. No. You don't run a business like that, guys. So hospitals don't run business. Hospitals, administrators in hospitals don't run that way. So in that case, for specific need, process of equipment rental, healthcare facility identifies the need, and then contracts are made. Manufacturers also loan for it. It's very, very common. It's very, very common. The loan. Manufacturer provide equipment to healthcare facility, then agreement. It's just like the loaner trays, which is very common in hospitals. When you go to the field, you are going to see so many trays like Striker, Zima, Medtronic, Novasive. A lot. The loan. Manufacturer provide equipment facilities. Agreement includes manufacturer disposal. So these things, normally the implants, normally they come with implants. And so the hospital strikes an agreement. It doesn't mean that it should always have an implant before it can be a trade that has no implant at all. And that's what I'm trying to say. So hospitals also loan, not only in Central Standard, they can even loan to other departments also. Sometimes they do loan patient care equipment to other departments, then they bring them to Central Sterile for them, for us to clean for them or disinfect for them before they begin to use them. So things can also be loaned. Types of disposable products, parts, tubing, sleeves, and all those things. Decision making, facility administrators decide. Yes, it's the administrators. So we can suggest that we did this. Always there is a pushback. Sometimes you can be arguing, sometimes it can take like 2 years, arguing, defending, and then finally. So we also continue because we also want the work to go in a way that we shall also be free, because when the traces are not enough, the cases are not going on, the nurses will be, putting pressure. So we also want to have enough so that we are free. But then there's also a pushback from finance and then from the administrators. But then finally, they will see the need when something happens or when finally we are able to convince them. Yeah, other clinics also do that. Other equipment concerns, importance of proper maintenance. Yes, when you have an equipment, you need to maintain them. Ensure mechanical equipment is in good condition. You want to make sure that it is actually working well. Well, helps prevent potential problems. Yes, PM helps to prevent. You see, PM is something I can classify as proactive, not reactive. Yes, When you do PM, it's always a proactive in nature, not reactive, because you don't want the thing to happen before you maintain the subway, the trains, I mean, the racks. They do PM. I mean, they don't want to wait until the rails become old, then a train derails and kill all the people before. No, 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 no. So you see that say, oh, this weekend, oh, this train is not running, blah, blah, because of track maintenance. That's an example. The culture of maintenance is so high in the United States. Where some of us come from, that culture is not there. Something disastrous had to happen before we realize, oh, we could have done this. But prevention is better than cure. Let's go by that. So connect the routine and then schedule basis, and then I'm going to try to keep them in good working shape. And then if you realize that something is not working well, you perform a repair, perform as needed, address issues, and you repair them. Procedure trace and kits. Procedure trace and kits. Procedure area. Now, an area within the healthcare facility that conducts invasive and minimally invasive procedures requiring instruments, supplies, and equipment. Yes. So they do send things to us to handle for them. And you are going to receive a lot of that. Maybe from mother and baby area, from those areas. Yes, because they do some minimally invasive. If they have to do like some C-section, some hospitals, they don't even do them in the OR. Sometimes they do them in their own clinics. Yeah, in the hospital, I mean, but in their clinic. So that's what I mean by minimal invasive and then invasive procedures, all those things. So be ready for those kind of things. They can come to you anytime. Managing reusable instruments. Yes, reusable instruments, that is our main job. That's our main job in Central Sterile, reusable. We are going to reuse them. Yes. We have some nice pictures here that you can see. Somebody handling some pill pouching. I see that it's a pill pouching. And this ENT case, a tray, ready. Now, so reprocessing instruments for ancillary departments. So ancillary, again, I'm talking about those, clinics, that are affiliated to, sometimes these clinics are stand-alone, like there is a physical distance where you have to go out of the main hospital, maybe drive and send to them. That's also there. Sometimes also they are within the big hospital, and that is so regardless of the distance, whether within the main hospital building or it's a distance, like, drive physical. I mean, I'm talking about the geographical location, distance, different, we call those places as affiliated, clinics. If they are offsite, then Department of Transport guidelines will also come in for the transporting of the instruments. Those conditions must be met. CS departments often handle reprocessing for offsite entities like affiliated clinics. I was working in a hospital where we were serving 3 different offsite in New York here. When I moved to upstate also, we had about 6 offsite, clinics. One was about 20 minutes away, drive about 20. So these are distance, like travel distances that you drive. So these are offsite, clinics affiliated to us, and we were reprocessing. And it becomes a challenge. Now, ensure biohazard transport and infection prevention guidelines are made. And that's why I said the DOT, Department of Transport, guidelines will have to be followed. Once offsite comes in, DOT comes in. Yes. But if it's within the hospital, then it's about AB and those kind of things. But once outside, then DOT comes in strongly, to guide how to transport contaminated and sterile. Now, follow specific protocols of sterile transport. Yes, instrument procurement and documentation. Instruments purchase through other channels must include the IFU. You see the IFU here, that's information for use. Sometimes you see MIFU, that's manufacturer information for use, but you don't see that often. You don't see that often. What you see is IFU. About 90% or 99% or 95%, you are going to see IFU. But if you are reading a book somewhere and you see MIFU, it is the same thing, manufacturer. Yeah, but they are just going by the IFU. That's what you see, 99.9%. Now, user departments must provide these IFUs to the CS department. Why am I laughing? Because in my last facility, something happened. A clinic bought something that looks plastic in nature, and they wanted us to sterilize. They never attached the IFU. So we didn't know whether those plastic things, first of all, could be done by high-level disinfection or, well, low-temperature sterilization or high-temperature sterilization. I don't know who made the mistake at that point. Then another time, another person will call, oh, we sent something, we bought something, we said, we don't have that, we don't know how to process them. Then another, so this has happened. Please, anytime they send you something, even if your supervisor is not there, and the clinic brings something that, oh, we bought this new process, ask them, what is the IFU? Please, never research that, because if you don't know, and for example, it is low temperature, and you see it as metallic, it is metal, so you think, oh, it is steam, high temperature, and the best, they'll blame you. They will blame you, the technician. So once they bring it, knew something, and let's assume it is like off day. By off day, I mean not normal working out. You see, directors and managers work in the day. Then we have the supervisors, running all the shit, afternoon, overnight, and morning. So if, like, let's say 8 p.m., where the director, blah, 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 or the manager is up there and they bring it to you, the supervisor, ask them, where is the IFU? If they're putting pressure on you, call your manager or director that they brought this, and then you can escalate this, because we don't want to take responsibility. You can only process something when you know the IFU. Have that in mind. Development of trade listing and protocols. CS department should create trade listing for all items processed. Yes, because they bought their own inventory. I mean, they paid for it, bought their own inventory. They keep track of it. They keep track of it. So normally the way we keep, when you are working in the decontamination room, your gloves are already soiled. You are not going to touch the pen, but you stand with them, they count it. Normally it's like scissors, like those kind of, you count it. Then the person who brought it to fill the paper and then leaves. Then that paper, you send it through the clean side. So the person will put it in a different basket, whatever. Then the clean side person will know that, okay, this is the number. Then we track. When it's going into the sterilizer, also we track it. So tracking is very, very important. You must be able to, have a good tracking system, because all items must be accounted for. But this is human institution. Sometimes we lost track. I mean, one can be missing in the call, they are screaming, and sometimes, we see them mixed with another thing, and we tell, oh, you've seen it. So those things can happen. Written processing protocols are very essential. That's the IFU again. Utensils and other medical equipment. Role of CS departments. Role of CS departments involved in handling utensils and medical equipment. We talk about this. Yeah, we handle those things that must be disinfected or clean. PCAs can handle that, or if the hospital says central sterile, well, we just have to accept them and then handle them. Manage transport devices and specialty beds. I was talking about the giraffe bed in NICU. HSC system brought that, some time ago, and I don't know if it's still there. Yeah, so you can be asked to handle those things like beds, for the newborn and premature babies, babies that were not due when they were born. Cleaning facilities. CS department often has the proper equipment and facility. We need to have everything that we need. And just thorough cleaning of devices. Yes, you must follow the IFU to clean those things or to decontaminate them. Reprocessing instructions. That's the IFU has been obtained. The instructions Yes. The instructions must be readily available to staff. Like a manual, it should be available anywhere. The manufacturer will send, somebody that we call a vendor will come and conduct a very thorough, very detailed, very thorough in service. Yeah, then we receive a manual. Then if the hospital has an educator, hospitals now begin to see the importance of social service educators. And the educator, you see, the educator must know more. After that, in service, have the IFU go through it very well, the decontamination process, so that anytime a staff comes to you, you can, educate the staff. But in services are held. That's a position that you can hold. And it is another, position. I held that, till March this year, and uh, I mean, when I wanted to move into education, and because of my position, holding first, stand director and etc., and my credentials, I was really paid well. In fact, I enjoyed that job, paid really well. So you can bargain, So there are so many things, areas in staff processing that you can move into. Supervisor, manager, educator, stand director, etc. Follow instructions for proper reprocessing. Follow instructions for proper reprocessing. Yes, the information that is conveyed, please don't short, don't cut corners. Do not cut corners. All right, conclusion. Importance of equipment and supplies. It is very important. Our goal is that we are protecting our patients. We are there for our patients, and we need to take care of our patients. And also, we must make sure that we are able to fulfill the needs of the departments, the user departments. When they need something, those things that they bring to us, that's patient care, can be crash cart, can be IV pump, photon, hypothermia machine, those things, we have to make sure that we handle them. That is if central sterile handle them. Not, again, I want to emphasize that not every hospital will push those things on central sterile. It requires specific items to be to operate effectively. Most often we don't know whether this is working. I mean, if IV pump is working or not, I don't know in central sterile because we don't use that. If hypothermia, I don't know. So what happens is that the user department will tag it as not working, broken, before they send it to central sterile. They'll call Biomed, first of all, but then Biomed will tell them, okay, we'll repair it, but send it to, central sterile for them to decontaminate. That's if they come to central sterile anyway. So that is it. So this one requires specific items to operate effectively. You may not know that one. You may not know, but then it will be communicated that it's not working, and therefore don't put it back into circulation, but rather after finishing, inform Biomed to come and pick it up. If it's the regular instrument like scissors, small stick, blah, 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 and so on, then that one, when they take it from the OR, indeed, we take them out of inventory for repair something, and then we replace them with a new one. The new one you take from inventory, backup inventory, but go to the decontamination room. Yeah, that is the protocol. You don't have to take it straight in the tray because of dust. When you go to the field, they will teach you that. Central Service Department provides support to ancillary department. Yes, that's what we talk. It can be mother and baby, um, uh, L&D, dental, podiatry, radiology, cardiology, etc. Or it can even be offsite, clinics. Enables quality. You see, the last word over here, the last word is over here, enables quality patient care. And again, all these things are aimed at providing excellent and high quality patient care. That's our goal. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. You have the privilege to ask questions. And I'm waiting for questions. Basima, Collins, Kwame Oting, Nana Amina, Shania, Chahura, and others, everyone, Gladys, Santiwa, Riatu. Women's iPhone, Yusuf, Ali, Bob Santo. If you have questions, everyone, Abdul, Amina, Najib, Amda.
What is the biomedical department?
Oh yeah, very good, and thank you very much for that question, Amda. Yeah, so every hospital, big hospital, of course, should have that. Now they repair. They are in charge of repairing, this equipment. Yeah, yeah. Uh, they are trained. It's a course that you can also take in college. Some colleges run that course. Yes, biomedical engineering. So they are there to repair, not only repair when a
No,
new.
no. I'm asking what are the biomedical departments?
Sorry,
The
I'm what?
biomedical departments.
Yeah, yeah. What they do, right?
What are they? Specific.
Yeah, that's what I'm explaining. That
You
yes,
are talking about the biomedical engineering. I'm talking about biomedical departments. What are they?
yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, we
Oh,
just
okay.
add the word engineering. Yeah, because they handle those kind of, yeah. I mean, like machines and technological. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you are taking the course, it's called biomedical engineering, but the
Oh,
work itself, that department is called biomedical department or biomedical
oh,
engineering department. Yeah, the names are synonymous. Yeah. Have I answered your question now?
sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then I was saying that they don't only repair when any new instrument, I mean, any new, if I say instrument, I'm wrong. I'm talking about medical device. Any new medical device that comes, like IV, like, hypothermia, like those things I mentioned, they have to go there first, for them to, check whether they are working, before they bring them. Yeah. So they are there to repair and also to test new machines before they put them in circulation. It's a very good field. Yeah. They're in charge of that. Yeah. Yeah. Any more questions? All right. If there are no questions, then I hand over to our director. Our director, over to you now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mike.
Yeah.
Um, I said last week, that was Monday, most of you are falling behind on your assignment. Please do it. You cannot succeed in this program if you're not reading your books and doing your assignment. All right. Looking at the results here, like most of you have not even visited the website for over a month. That's very bad, right? Other than that, um, there's nothing I have to say right now. Let's call it a day. All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. All
Bye.
All
right.
right. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dorita.